My name is Silvia Gomez, and this is my story. So after multiple attempts to trying to go through the immigration process, I say multiple because it was probably like 5 or 6, for one reason or another, that everything wasn't perfect. The cards weren't aligned. So if it was time to go and I was pregnant with my firstborn, it was time to go, and I think my daughter had just been born. It was time to go, and I had just started a brand new job. So it wasn't the right time. But finally in 2012, I got my letter that it was time to go to the Ciudad Juarez consulate for my immigration appointment. So my husband and I, we looked at everything, we prepared everything. We saved enough money for the time that the lawyer had mentioned it was gonna take. We had somebody stay in our house and take care of it while we were gonna be gone. So everything seemed to be in order and in line to go to that. So I felt comfortable to actually move forward with the second phase of our immigration process. So we got everything ready. I go to my appointment in Ciudad Juarez, and like our lawyer had told us, they're gonna deny you, but don't worry, we're gonna submit a waiver and everything's gonna be fine. You have a really strong case, so nothing to worry about. So we went. It was my husband, my dad, myself. I went there, and just like my lawyer said, they denied it, but they said you can submit this waiver and everything should be fine. So we submit the waiver, and the lawyer had said it was going to be about 3 months for them to review it and approve it. 3 months came, we didn't hear anything. 9 months came, we didn't hear anything. And then it was actually up to a year when we actually heard back from immigration. Now, financially and mentally, we had only prepared for 3 months. So it coming to 6 months and 9 months and a year, it actually became harder and harder every time. At that time, I was living in Tijuana with one of my husband's family member. I had my daughter. She wasn't in school yet, so she was staying with me. But my husband was in the States with my son in school, and he was there Monday through Friday. And on Fridays he would come. He would spend the weekend with us, and Sunday morning, to not catch a long line, he would leave. So during that during that year, I was only seeing them on the weekends. And it was a hard time because there was a lot of unsureness of what was going on. There was a lot of waiting. I felt like I was kind of trapped in this waiting period, not knowing what was going to happen, and only seeing them on the weekends. It was very hard. It was almost like saying goodbye. Every weekend I would say hi, I would have my family together complete, and then again Sunday morning I would have to say bye. So it's almost like a little wound that kept on being opened every weekend. So it was a very, very hard time. It was a very hard year. It was very hard for me. It was just, I was by myself, and I know my husband was by himself on the other side, and the only time that we could come together was on the weekends. And we didn't really know Tijuana much, and in our minds Tijuana was gonna be just a temporary place, so we didn't even know Tijuana. We would just kind of like stay in our little bubble. We would just go like to the mall, to the movies, and come back, to the mall, to the movies, and come back. So we didn't even bother to see what Tijuana had. It had so much to offer, and we didn't even bother. So after a year, so it was 3 months, 6 months, and after a year, I got my approval for my waiver. So finally I got a letter saying that my waiver was approved. And so I was monitoring closely how the whole process was. So I knew after your waiver was approved, you submit your waiver, and like a week later you got your visa. But instead of getting that, I got a notice from Ciudad Juarez saying that they wanted to see me. And I was confused because that was not how it was supposed to go. I talked to my lawyer. He said, oh, it's probably, they just want to make sure that you didn't cross back. So we actually borrowed the money because, again, we had only budgeted and planned for a couple of months. So I went by myself to Ciudad Juarez. I went to my appointment by myself. And what they told me in that appointment was basically, we made an error. We approved you for the waiver, but you don't qualify for the waiver, and you actually don't qualify for it for 10 years. So receiving that news was a shocker, because I literally in my mind thought I was already gonna go home. I was like, oh my gosh, I waited, it's been a year, that's okay. It's not what they said it was gonna be, it was more time, that's okay, I'm ready to go home. So when I got that news, I was crushed. I didn't even have any words. Like, I was standing next to the agent and I was speechless like I am right now. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what's going on? Like, I think there's an error. And I told him, no, I think you're mistaken. They approved the error. I mean, they approved the waiver. And he goes, yeah, we approved it, but you don't qualify for it. So I started crying in front of the officer, and he grabs the paper and he walks away. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's gonna go check and see if there was an error that was made. I was sure there was an error that was made, and I thought that that's what he went to go do. But little did I know, he just wanted to go get away from me. He didn't want to see me crying, and he did whatever process that he had to do. And he said, here's your paper, and at the bottom it says, you're qualified for visa till 2022. And it was 2013 then, because it was a year after. And when I saw that date, 2022, it felt so far away. It felt like forever ago. I grabbed my paper and I walked out. It was the quickest appointment at the consulate I've ever had. Usually it takes forever. Usually you're there all day, but it was the quickest appointment. So my ride told me that they were gonna be back at noon. So I was out of there by 10:30, and I'm sitting there. I walk out of the consulate, and there's all these ugly thoughts going in my head of that I had basically ruined my family's life, or that I've basically ruined everything for them, because we had before that, we had this perfect little family, this perfect little life, and then my situation came and ruined it, and now they're gonna miss out. Now what are they gonna have to do? Are they gonna have to come live to Tijuana with me? Are they gonna stay back? There was so much uncertainty, and there were so many thoughts going in my head. And the ugliest one was, I'm the problem, so maybe if I'm out of the picture, there's gonna be no more problem. And there's this crazy street right in front of the consulate. There's like a 4-lane street, or maybe it felt like a 4-lane street. I don't even know if it is a 4-lane street, but it's a big street, and there's a bridge that goes over to get to the other side where I was supposed to wait for my ride. And for a quick second, the thought was like, just go in there and it's done. It's over. You don't have to worry about that anymore. But I just knew that wasn't the plans for me. I knew there was gonna be bigger plans, even though I didn't know it yet, but I knew it. So I crossed the street properly. I waited in a Starbucks for my ride, and I had about 2.5 hours of time to think. When my ride came, a very lovely lady that lives in Juarez, I saw her coming, and she told me, oh, I already knew in your face that it wasn't gonna be good news. So she just hugged me, and she said, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. And I felt so even though she was being loving and she was there and she was hugging me and she was telling me that everything was gonna be okay, I just felt so lonely because I remember the first time we went to that city, it was with my dad, it was with my husband, it was me. We almost made it like an event, like everything's gonna be good. And this second time, actually it was the third time, there was none of that. My husband couldn't come with me this time. My dad couldn't come with me this time. We barely had enough money for me to make it there. And so I felt so lonely. When I arrived at that lady's house, she goes, "Do you want to call your husband?" So she gave me the phone. I went to the the guest room where she let me stay. And I called my husband and he said, "How did it go?" And I told him they gave me 10 years. I laugh now because it sounds funny, like they gave me 10 years, like if I was going to jail or something. But I told him that they gave me 10 years. And he started laughing and he goes, "Oh, you're kidding." And when he heard the silence on the other side of the phone, he knew I wasn't kidding. Yeah. I just kind of stayed quiet and he goes, "Okay, fine. We try to do it the right way. We'll do it the wrong way. When you come, we're gonna try to cross you." And I went to bed that night. My flight was the first thing in the morning the next day, and I arrived into Tijuana. And as I'm walking out the doors from the airport, I see my husband, I see my kids, I see my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my mom, my mom, my dad. I see everybody and they're all for me and they all receive me, and I'm just getting so much love from them. And I remember that my husband was hugging me and he whispered in my ear, he told me, "No matter where you are, no matter where you go, no matter where they send you, I'm gonna be there. We're gonna be there. If they send you to China, we're gonna be in China. If wherever they send you, we're gonna be together. And that's all that matters." And that's when I kind of realized that this is gonna be our new home, Tijuana. The place that we've been living for a whole year, that something changed, something clicked in our minds, and we knew, okay, Tijuana is our new home. Then I get an email from my friend. She goes, "Hey, do you know that they're opening up at East Lake Church in Tijuana?" So I opened the email. I'm like, we had been going to East Lake Church in Chula Vista for about 6 months before the actual move. But we were just kind of casually going. We weren't quite all there yet. But the fact that something from over there was gonna be over here that we knew and that we liked excited me. Like, I was very happy. I was like, "Oh, that sounds like fun." So I signed up for the updates, and they sent an email that they were gonna have their first launch party at a restaurant that was literally like down the street from our house. And we went to it. We saw Cindy and Fito, we saw Elsa and Lalo, we saw a bunch of familiar faces, and we just saw everybody just welcoming us. We sat down, we listened to everything they had to say, and we were like, we found our home. Like, this is it. And I actually remember clearly that we sat down at the last table, just in case if something went weird, we could leave easily. But we're like, nope. We didn't have to do that. This is our home. And so we were there for the first launch party. There was a lot of families in the same situation as us. And we just felt like we weren't alone. We weren't the only ones in the situation. There was others in the same situation. And we could be there for each other. Then we started attending a Cindy and Fito's house service every Sunday. It was maybe like 20 people, 15 people. It would vary every time. We would do the service. We would watch the video from Chula Vista, and then we would just fellowship. We would grill burgers, we would play games, we would hang out, and I just felt like I had a family. I started serving in translation because what that meant literally was like being in someone's ear and just translating the message, because the message was in English, but there were some people there that only spoke Spanish. So we just completely fell in love with all the families, the church, the feeling of family. We just loved it. So we continued to go. It was getting bigger and bigger, so big that the kids had to be at another house. That was like our children's ministry then. We would put them all in a van, take them to the other house, and then all the adults would watch the service. I also helped with that as well. So in every little thing that I could, I was helping. I felt like this is so helpful for me. I'm gonna help back. When the church building started, as a family, my kids and us, we went there, we were painting, we were cleaning, we were so excited that this new building was gonna happen, because what it meant is more families, more people, and more people that were gonna get to experience what we experienced when we got there, which was support, family, love, friends for our kids, friends for us. So we were super excited. I remember the very first growth group that started. I had been to growth groups back in the States, and I just attended them. But being that there were so few of us, they said, do you want to open a growth group at your home? And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? And so I got encouraged to do it, and we did a series called, I think, Happily Ever After. We invited a bunch of couples to our home, even couples that weren't actually going to church, but we felt like, we wanted to invite them, and they accepted, so that was awesome. And so we started the growth groups, and everybody was coming over to our house. We were building friendships. We would bring food. We would have a different theme every night. And now, though, that group of people people from that first growth group, they're like one of our closest friends. They are still part of our lives. We do life with them. Our kids do life with each other. So I was so glad that I took that step. Everything was kind of falling into place. Being part of the church and being part of the community was helping me be part of the community outside of church. I started a job. I started regular life, like back in the States, something that I never thought I was gonna do. I remember that for the first couple years, I was just staying at home, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I don't even know how to get things done. Where do I go get my ID? When to apply? How do I apply for a job? My Spanish is not the best, even though Spanish is my first language. It's not my best language. So it was interesting integrating into the community and becoming part of the community outside of the church. My kids started doing activities, sports and dance, and even we started doing that. So it was kind of becoming now our life. Something that a couple years ago, when they said, you're gonna be in Tijuana for 10 years, and I thought, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I can't. And now looking back, and everything that was going on, I was actually seeing that transitioning into Tijuana and how it was becoming my city. Now, if you ask me, I love Tijuana. We've actually traveled to other places. very, very pretty places. But always when we come back to Tijuana, as we're landing and I look down to Tijuana, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be home. Like, I'm actually happy to be back in Tijuana. So it was hard at the beginning, but with the help of the church, with the help of the friendships and the families in the church, with all that help, it made the transition easier. And I think that's something very important, because it's hard to do life, period. And now when you're put into this other place that you don't know, or you might not even know the language, it's even harder. So with that help, it makes things a little bit easier. You have somebody to help you through this process of how to do things.